Oh, how do I got to remove that. Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing tonight? Welcome to another night, a Wednesday night live with myself, Brent Adams with Fast Line Fast Track. And as you all can tell, look who is in the picture with us tonight. Dustin Hoffman is in the house.
How you guys doing?
Well, we're doing good, Dustin. How are you doing?
Soaking wet. We just got ourselves a gully washer here about an hour or so ago. I think we got about an inch of rain there in a really quick, short amount of time.
Oh man, that makes it. Now I was in Tifton and Bainbridge, Georgia, all day yesterday, and it rained on me. I came 1 hour north, and it was like a desert. No rain at all. Nothing. Brent, have you been getting any rain there at your place?
Well, I tell you what, it's been pretty dry most of the week, but we've got heavy rain supposed to be moving in late tonight or early tomorrow. It looks like it's starting to cloud up now as I'm looking at it here. So we're waiting for it. Everything is really dusty here at the moment in southern Indiana and in the Louisville, Kentucky area.
Well, that's it's definitely the weather's just being weird this year.
Compared to what we discussed, the last couple of years, Brandon, it's not as bad. At least not as bad as last year got off to be. Holy cow!
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. But this year the South had it bad planting. A lot of things couldn't get in by the cutoff deadline.
Yeah, we were fortunate. We actually had one of the fastest plantings we've had. I mean, this was the fastest soybean plant we've had on record since 1974 in Iowa. So definitely a lot better than what we saw last year when we talked about floods last year.
Oh, last year it was just awful. And it's just been one of those things. I mean, it's been. And I saw some things over the last few days where I've been looking at fields that I haven't seen in a while. Not at all. I mean, I saw stupid things like manganese, just real bad manganese deficiencies, and not in one or two fields, but in a lot of fields. And I haven't seen that. I don't think I've ever seen it as bad as it was today, what I've seen the last 2 days.
Wow.
Well, Brent, tell us what's been going on with Fast Line Fast Track lately.
Well, I tell you what, there hasn't been any slowing down here lately. We've got a lot going on here as we kind of hit the dog days of summer here. We've got David Graydon with Michelin Ag is going to be coming on this week to talk about tire technology, and then we continue our series on the Corn Warriors Season 4. Competitors. We bring in Dan Lipkus out of Oregon, Illinois this week. We had a great talk and really enjoy everything he's doing here. Been keeping in touch with my buddy Seth Wood here with Corn Warriors and with the Podfather, which is the new show that he's got dropping on RFD come January. And they were out filming this week. I mean, that guy travels more than anybody I know. One day he's in Illinois, the next day he's in Arkansas, the next day he's back up in Ohio. And they film it like 20, 30 days at a clip. They're just bang, bang, bang all over, everywhere east of the Mississippi here. And collecting a ton of great content. I had a chance to spend some time with those guys in Indiana here a couple of weeks ago, and just really hardworking guys and really turned out some great content. So excited to hear from Dan Lipkus this week, and we'll have another one of those again next week as we kind of close in on all the competitors of Season 4 there. And then we hit some of the highlights of U.S. Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue's address to the National Association of Farm Broadcasting, which Dustin also is a member of. And I can't say that he plowed a lot of new ground in that. It was pretty cut and dried stuff there. But anytime we get the secretary talking, we always try to get a couple of sound bites on there and just let folks know what's on his mind these days. And then we bring in that music of Matt Kennon, who was on the live stream last week, just a great traditional country music guy out of your neck of the woods down there in Georgia, now living out in the St. Louis area. But Conyers, Georgia guy by birth. So we got those guys on there. And then we're gearing up for our next live stream tomorrow night at 7:00 Eastern. We've got Craig Campbell coming on the show tomorrow night. So excited to have Craig on there. Been looking forward to this one for a while. We got 3 big in a row here coming up. We got that one tomorrow night. The next Thursday, we've got John Barry coming on the show. And then the following week, we've got the Queen of Country Soul, Jeannie Seeley, coming on the show here. So we're going to talk to Jeannie, and she's got a new album coming out the next day after that, the 14th of August, where she's got a duet with Willie Nelson on there. So I've got a couple of surprises lined up for that night too. So I hope everybody will check all those out. But and then we've got our ag live streams that are going to be starting. The music live streams have been they were kind of born out of necessity because we'd been recording all these shows out of the Ernest Tubb Record Shop in Nashville or Hank Snow's Rainbow Ranch in Madison, Tennessee. But COVID kind of shut those down. So we've had to start doing these live streams, and they've been so popular that we're going to start doing some ag-specific ones on Tuesday afternoons beginning next week. We're going to have Rob LaRue coming in with the National Farmers Union. He's going to just share a little bit about what those guys are working on. The next week, we're going to have representative of the FFA coming in to talk about just how chapters around the country are going to be dealing with COVID as they start a new school year and how they're going to keep programs moving forward. We'll also talk a bit about the national convention coming up and, just a lot on their plates right now as they try to navigate everything going on. We're going to close out the month talking with Kurt Blades of the Association for Equipment Manufacturers, just to talk about how ag equipment manufacturers are dealing with everything right now. So busy times right now. And, as we were talking offline, we're losing so many of these farm shows for late summer and early fall that everybody is scrambling right now to try to market their products, to get the word out about everything that they've got going on that's new or different. And we're just trying to adapt and adjust and help them the best we can to share their stories with everybody in agriculture.
Oh yeah, and that's something. The people are not, the shows canceling or dropping left and right. And there's a lot of people that had put a lot of effort into these shows.
Yeah. And it's tough. I mean, we were losing them all the way into October, November, and everybody thinks, well, gosh, so much can change between now and then. But when you think about all the planning that goes into that, when you go to any of those shows and see all the elaborate setups and all the staging and all the hotels and restaurants and everything else that has to be accommodate all these things. I mean, that's not something you can pull the trigger on overnight. That's something that takes weeks and months of planning. So, and in some cases, they were backed by insurance policies that forced them to have to, make a decision or lose a significant amount of money. So at the end of the day, I mean, they're just having to err on the side of caution and say, hey, we're going to wipe the slate clean and move on to next year and try to adapt. Now, some of these that are doing the live shows virtually are trying to navigate what that looks like, and all that's coming together on the fly. And I don't know how smooth some of these are going to be, but I think everybody's just going to try to adapt and do the best they can with them.
Yeah, well, we were talking about go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dustin, because we
were talking about the NAFB convention, in fact, in Kansas City, and a lot of us were talking about why couldn't we have had it? It's in November, but when you think about, we don't know. I mean, November could be worse, it could be better, and we got people coming in from all over the country. Or you look at Farm Progress all over the country and some other countries. I mean, you just don't know what you're going to be up against, and I guess it'd be better to err on the side of caution than take a risk and cause bigger problems.
When it's tough, and I know none of those decisions are made lightly, because I've seen the agonizing that's gone on over the NAFB convention and the Ag Editors Convention and some of these others and some of the farm shows too. I mean, nobody wants to be that person to have to say, no, we're going to shut this thing down, because so many people look forward to those and so many companies look forward to using them as a prime marketing opportunity and an opportunity to touch base with their customers and build relationships. So nobody wanted to have to do that, but again, here we sit the July 29th, no real vaccine in sight for this thing. And who knows where all this goes, but you're right. I mean, it could be worse before it gets better. Hopefully it isn't, but you got to start making decisions.
Yeah, you look, and it's not just big shows. You've got, like, I think if you look at most of tractor pull season, I think most of tractor pull season is done. I think there may only be, a handful of pulls and a handful of shows, and that's about it. Livestock shows are the same way. I was talking to a couple of show moms the other day, one in South Georgia and one in Kentucky. And, when you're talking high school kids having to go 350 miles to even get to one show, these are kids that have put their whole heart into these animals. And that's a hard thing to look at. Dustin, I know you're dealing with it. And if you want to kind of talk a little bit about what you guys are doing, that is awesome.
Yeah, it's first of all, we were talking about hitting on the other things. The one that really got me is for the last 2 years have covered the Pro Farmer Crop Tour for the National Association of Farm Broadcasting, and the scramble they're doing to pull that off this year. I mean, normally you're in a car with 4 other people, and you never have the same 3 other people in your car every day. And you may have a guy from Germany one day, you may have someone from wherever. And so scouting, I'm actually going to be doing it virtually this year, checking in with all the scouts. I'm not actually even going on the tour in there, and they're going to be they're having to reshuffle how they do that. And that's something that, while it's not usually a public thing, it's really something that a lot of the people are watching to see what kind of numbers come out of that thing.
Yeah.
So you were talking. How are they? Well, here right now. Well, ask the NAS. I mean, you saw it on Monday. It looks great according to the USDA. And boy, doesn't that sound like last year again? But here in Iowa, I mean, to be honest, it looks decent. There are some spots that need rain. Now, West Central Iowa is the only spot that was in a drought zone and still could use some rain. There are some spots. So I went up to Northeast Iowa yesterday, East Central, Northeast Iowa, and there's some spots that could use a shot, but they got some rain earlier in the summer. I mean, from about May 15th to about July 15th, it was really a bad spot here in Des Moines. It was a tale of east of I-35 and west of I-35. We saw in 2 months, we only saw 0.8 of an inch of rain, which wasn't bad, but we got that 2 weekends ago in one day. And then we got close to that again, probably here this afternoon. So, I mean, we're starting to get some rain again, but there are some spots that are still hurting. But all in all, and I made the comment when I was out about a month ago, or just before, about a little over a month ago now, I went out to check some crops in here where the Farm Progress site is. And the crops we're looking good. And, of all the things that we're dealing with this year, weather is at least not one of them for us, at least not on a hard scale. I mean, we need a shot of rain in some spots, but I think in the most part, if we can get that shot of rain, things are going to be okay.
Well, and now 2 weeks ago, I was in Missouri, and I was pretty heavy all over Missouri. And I have never seen it this way. You would see 2 fields that looked really, really good. And then you'd see 6 that looked like they were in the middle of September and not in the middle of July.
Yeah.
Now I know yields from what I've looked at from corn around here and down south and in South Georgia, they're far cry from what they were last year. I think I may be wrong, but from what I've seen, we're going to be behind the gun this year. Cotton is the same way.
Now I'm sitting here looking at the latest headlines here with this tropical storm Isaias here. It looks like it might start tracking up your way.
Yeah, it is. It looks like it's going to come in, and this was, I guess, it'd be nice. And Pam Knox may comment because she watches a lot of the lives. It looks kind of like it's going to come and skirt Florida on the west coast and come in Alabama.
Yeah.
And see, all I'm getting is nightmares thinking it was that last fall when you guys had some of the best crops you were looking at. Was that the year before last when you were looking at some of the best cotton crops, and all of a sudden right before harvest, everything just went bam. I see Mark in the comments. He just said they had a good rain in Council Bluffs, Iowa. I know they were looking for some. I got one of our new correspondents is out in Shenandoah, Iowa, and I know that area was looking for some rain. So I mean, that's good that they're seeing some of that.
Yeah, and if you remember correctly, we had Kenny Woodham on during the hurricane, remember? And
oh yeah, that's when he couldn't find his grandma, wasn't it?
Yeah, when he was trying to get to her house. So it's I guess that's why we're all into farming. So, but yeah, it is. No, I saw cotton. I have seen cotton the last couple of days. Normally this time of year, cotton is belt high. I've seen more cotton the last couple of days that was knee high than cotton that was belt high. And that, of course, that's a rough thing. And then, of course, you hear what happened to Australia yesterday. Did you notice that, Dustin?
Yeah, I did.
Here's the question I have for you. And this question was asked to me today by 3 farmers at one time. How bad is that going to affect our cotton market? You basically take away 60% of Australia's market due to a bankruptcy.
Yeah, so that's going to be if I knew exactly what it was going to do, I would be in a different job than I'm in right now. But, anytime you have a dent in production, I mean, that's why you watch everything that happens around the world. That's why we watch the weather in all these places, and why we watch anything that affects the crops is because as soon as there's that dent in supply, I mean, you could see that price start to go up. But that again depends on how big is the dent in supply overall globally, and what's that going to mean for what you guys have. I mean, you guys still haven't got yours baled either yet. So I mean, it's one of those deals of what's it going to look like, and until those numbers start rolling in, no one's going to know for sure.
And when I was in Missouri, I went into one of the cotton warehouses, and it was still full. They still have a lot of cotton from last year left.
Good grief.
So it's going to, but they said that the Australian, and if John, I'm pretty sure John Hewen is on here, he can probably comment to that. But a lot of times you find out, like I'm slow tonight. I'm reading comments. Their crop was already, do not laugh at me, Nicole. We can see Nicole, y'all can't.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Their cotton was already 40% down. Yield was already 40% down due to drought.
But how much does Australia weigh on that cotton market globally? I mean, compared to when you look at Brazil for corn and soybeans and that kind of area,
If I remember correctly, Australia was like number 5 down the list.
So that'd be China, and that's where you got to weigh it, because you look at like corn and soybeans, for example. Once you got U.S. and Brazil, that's over 60% of the world's production right there. So what does number 5 mean?
Yeah. You've got China. What was it? Greece or China's one. Greece was second, or Greece and Turkey was second. Then U.S. And then I think there's one more. And then Australia, I think it's 5. I think they're 5th.
And how's China's crops looking? I mean, we're getting word that their corn ain't looking too good, and that's why their prices are skyrocketing. Why they were in the market for our corn.
And apparently, they've been under some pretty heavy flooding the last couple of weeks too. So that very heavily could affect the cotton market.
Yeah.
But back to the virtual I'm just wondering, just in case everybody knows, it's been a rough week for me. Next Wednesday, I have surgery. So whether I will be on the air at 7:00 or whether
I think you got an excuse, man.
I may be here drooling, and well, that'll be a different story. But Dustin, tell us a little bit about what you. Okay, come on. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. What?
I know.
I was just going to say, how is that compared to when we did the show a year or so ago? I mean, you used to be drooling on the air too, because you'd be talking about your Chick-fil-A or your Waffle House.
Well, I know.
Or your Twinkies.
Hey, do you know I still
gosh, I opened a can of worms, didn't I?
There is still a box of Twinkies in this office.
But you had like, how many did you have? Like 30 or 40 some boxes of Twinkies you got? You got like a crate of them at one time. Oh man, you and them. Well, the thing is, at least they last forever.
No, they have an expiration date on them.
2089.
No, October 28th of 2019.
Oh, well, that's just for show.
Yeah, no, the story about that, Brent, so you know, I had a mild heart attack. And the doctor told me that I needed to change my diet. Well, one of the first things I did when I got out of the hospital was go to a barbecue restaurant. And
listened so well.
So my brother at the time decided it would be extreme. We were at Sidekicks Barbecue in Rockmart. Oh, great barbecue. My brother decides, they're yelling at me about what I'm eating and how I'm eating it. And 2 days later, I get this huge Amazon box full of Twinkies and a note that says, if you're going to not listen to the doctor, go ahead and finish yourself off now. Eat yourself to death with Twinkies. So needless to say, I think we were passing out Twinkies to everybody. I mean,
you had over 30 boxes of them, didn't you?
Yeah, it was huge. It was stupid. I was giving Twinkies away to the welder at the shop to get him to do extra work. He said he wasn't going to work any faster unless we brought him a box of Twinkies. So, yes. I am not that bad now. I actually eat, I can eat a whole lot without getting, next week is going to be interesting because they're taking my gallbladder and my appendix out at the same time. So it'll be interesting then. Now, Dustin, the videos, let's discuss the videos because these are absolutely awesome. What you guys are doing and how you're doing it.
Well, as we've been talking about, we have been seeing, the canceling of everything, including our Iowa State Fair. And, last year when you and I covered the state fair and different things, we talked a lot about the Governor's Charity Steer Show. That's been going on since 1983. So this year would be the 37th annual, event, which they raise money for the 3 Iowa Ronald McDonald houses in Sioux City, Des Moines, and Iowa City at the University of Iowa. And this year, of course, with everything happening and COVID happening, they erred on the side of caution with the state fair and a lot of county fairs. But this is still a big fundraiser. And the Iowa Cattlemen's Association, the Iowa Beef Promotion Board, and the governor, and they all kind of sat down and talked together about what can we do to still raise money. And Iowa State jumped in and said, whatever we can do to help is great. So they're going to have a virtual Iowa Governor's Charity Steers Show. Now it's going to be a little different. It's not going to have the whole big arena full of 1,000 people watching this, but they're still going to have the Charity Steers Show coming from Iowa State, and it will be held virtually. If you are in, it's invitation only to get involved in this. And so they're still trying to do everything they can because they have raised almost $4 million in this time for the Ronald McDonald houses in Iowa. So that's in 37 years. And so they're hoping to keep that tradition going. I think they hit 284,000 last year was the final tally. Because what they do is they have celebrity people come in and they're sponsored by different companies or different organizations. Each steer and the kid is sponsored by these organizations. And then they have a celebrity a showman, and one of them is the governor, Governor Kim Reynolds, and one's of course the Lieutenant Governor Adam Gregg, and they two have a rivalry because Governor Reynolds I think won 2 years ago, and then Lieutenant Governor Gregg won last year, so there's a little rivalry between the two of them. But there's all sorts of them: the colleges, Iowa State, University of Iowa, some of the community colleges. There's so many great organizations. McDonald's goes and gets somebody in there as well. So I mean, they really do a lot. And so this year, instead of having all these things going on where we had a chance to learn about these kids, as things are happening, we're starting to tell some of the stories to help promote it online. And Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network was grateful to be able to be partnering with the Cattlemen and the Iowa Beef Promotion Board to help produce some videos. And the Cattlemen are producing some as well. And of course, other news outlets are getting the interviews in, but we're producing videos about what's going on and telling some of the stories of these organizations. Governor Kim Reynolds already did her video and talking about making sure that we want to make sure this still goes off without a hitch and getting people involved. And then now we've also started talking with some of the sponsors. One of them being right here down the street from me, Des Moines Area Community College. They've sponsored for several years. Their president was a 4-H showman in his youth, and he's still grateful to be part of that. And up at 2015, they had sold the record steer at auction at over $30,000. And last year, they saw the record go up to almost $70,000 for a steer paid last year. And so it's a big deal. And all that money, all the proceeds go into the Ronald McDonald House. And we're also not only talking to the sponsors, but we're talking to a couple of the families. And we got a video that's going up, and I know Nicole was nice enough to put the Facebook link up there, and we thank you for that, Nicole. But that's where you can start to see some of the videos as they're going up. And they're going to be spaced out because the event happens August 15th. And through there, you're going to be able to find links to the website for the Iowa Governor's Charity Steer Show, where you'll be able to watch live. They're encouraging people to donate from out of state. You can donate, even if you're not bidding on a steer, you can donate. $5 here and there from a lot of people around the country helps to help these kids. And I yesterday went to film with a family in Northeast Iowa, and that story, I'm going to be getting that video up here by the end of the week, beginning of next week, and it's enough to make you realize what the Ronald McDonald House is about. If you've just dropped your change in there and don't realize what they're about, it's life-changing, as the family said. They never really had to think about it. They thought, it's just a place to stay when people need to crash for a thing. And then when they had to finally use it and realize that it's such a support level, and the fact that it's trying to make it as much home away from home for these families as they can. So when they're there with their kids, having to watch their kids go at the hospital and go through all this stuff, that they've got a moment that they can go back and relax and be a family and have at least a little sense of normalcy. Like they said, even getting back there and eating supper or something at the dining room with other families just to talk and get some support, or even if they go to their room and take a shower and eat a bag of popcorn or something in their room, it's just something to give them a few minutes break to refresh themselves so they can have the strength to go in there. And this family is a 16-year-old boy or 16-year-old young man who has been in the cattle industry since he was 6 years old. His dad's a veterinarian, and he has been calling ranchers and auction houses around since he was a kid, since he was 6, to Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, everywhere, just to ask him, how's the cattle looking? And a few years ago, 5 years ago, he bought his first heifer, I should say, for showing. And him and his brother have a show cattle company that they're also using to build their own herd. And eventually they're up to now, from that one heifer, they're now up to about 20 cattle, I'm going to say, give or take on the estimate between the pastures that they have. But they have a couple calves this year, and every year they go out and find themselves a heifer. And not always they got their budget. Like they said, you got some people that come into the shows and you could tell they paid high dollar for their cattle to get them in. They're getting the best they can. Last year, okay, so I'm getting way ahead of myself. 5 years ago, he was diagnosed with epilepsy. And I don't want to tell all the story, but he was prescribed a different medication to help him do better with his epilepsy that he was getting before. And there was a 1 in 300,000 chance that this kid was going to develop a condition because of this medication. And he ended up being that 1 in 300,000. And all I can tell you without giving too much away is at one point, this kid was 90% of his body burned from the inside, not from the outside like a normal burn victim, but he was 90% burned like a burn victim would be, but it came from the inside of his body. And at one point, at the lowest point when they thought they might lose him, his blood pressure was 30/20. They saved his life, and with some surgeries, he is now back. Last year, he had to go to Boston to have a procedure that was supposed to be spread over a couple days. He had the first part done, couldn't talk, couldn't walk, but somehow convinced his doctors to let him come back to Iowa to show his heifer 2 days later. Was in the ring in a wheelchair, couldn't talk, couldn't anything, but he was with his brother. They showed their heifer. He got back on the plane, went back to Boston, and finished his procedure. This year, a year later at the same fair, he walked into that ring with his heifer and pulled down a reserve grand champion. So, wow. I mean, it was a great story of this kid, and there's so much more to the story, and what the Ronald McDonald House is doing. But that's just one of the stories that we're going to be sharing. And the link, again, is still up there. Nicole's got it. Take a look at it. Follow it if you can. Like I said, when we have this event on August 15th, $5 is not a lot, but it can go a long way if it all adds up. Yep. And we could raise some serious money for those kids and their families. And, you know, hopefully it's one of those things you hope you never have to use that facility, but you thank God every day that the people who need it have it there.
Well, I tell you what, man, that's awesome. And I can speak to that because we have a daughter who was born with some issues, and she's about to turn 4 here next month, and she's had 25 surgeries, and we've had them done at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. And you're right. You see the little change receptacles at McDonald's. You don't think anything of it. You hear about it, and you don't really even grasp the concept of it until you're faced with, okay, well, I've got a 2-week or a 3-week hospital stay, and you can get hotel rooms through the concierge, but even at that, they're $100 a night. Well, you start adding that up, 2-week stay is a mortgage payment. So, you know, to have them there. And those people, when you get there, they bend over backwards for you. You know, different people volunteer every night in the kitchen to make meals for you. All that food is, for the most part, donated in kind by local corporations. And, you know, it takes the burden off you having to buy, 3 meals a day for everybody who's staying there. And, you know, there's people in that facility that stay up to 2 years, and you just can't even fathom what kind of burden that would be with that. And as a matter of fact, the one at Cincinnati at the Children's Hospital, they just went, they doubled the size of the facility. It was 78 beds, and sadly, it was so jammed that you couldn't hardly get a room there. I mean, it was, every once in a while you'd luck into it, but sometimes you call them and ask if they had a room, and you'd have to wait for a week to get, even short-term lodging, because there just wasn't enough room there. So they've doubled the size of that facility, but these people are just doing the Lord's work, man. It's amazing stuff. And as long as I live, I will forever be grateful for the work that those guys are doing. So kudos to you guys for doing that. I mean, it's huge, and I hope everybody will get behind that effort, because it means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah, we're glad that we could be a part of that and help the cattlemen and the beef promotion board to keep that tradition going. I know Governor Branstad, I believe, is the one that started it years ago. Now Ambassador Branstad, but he's the one, I believe, that started it all these years ago, and it's just been a tradition they want to carry on. And we're glad that we could. And we had planned to be doing some of these video stories before all this hit, and now it just became a godsend that we were able to, because that's becoming quickly the only way we can get some of these stories out. And yeah, like I said, I'm tearing up going through the story of this kid while I'm putting the video together, and it's how you watch the family who is so grateful to these people, and and the volunteers, like you said, that are there of their own time doing everything they can to help these people out. It's just amazing. And to hear a family go through all that and say, you know what, and we felt blessed that we weren't as bad off as other people. Yeah. And it's like, you think about that, and it's like, I didn't know. I mean, obviously not a competition, but it's like, how you can go through all that and say, you know what, we still don't have it as bad as other people. Yeah. And it's just, it's a testament to the strength of a family that thankfully has that backing of a place like the Ronald McDonald House.
Yeah. I mean, it's all relative. You're right. But I tell you what, I don't know, we're just a middle-class working family doing the best we can to pay our bills and keep it moving forward every week. But you don't realize what a burden just one medical complication could mean to a family, and you find yourself in that position. And we have other kids. They don't, the hospital won't let other kids in there, especially now. you're lucky to have one family member in there with you at the current state of things. So to have that to fall back on, like you say, to go back there and take a shower, or I was actually doing some college classes at the time. So to have a quiet place to go and do some stuff there, and they pack you a little snack bag or some toiletries, or you get a handmade card from a family that is supporting them, and likely because they were benefactors or beneficiaries of it at one time or another. So a lot of paying it forward there, and it's special. So it's really cool to see ag getting behind that.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And we need to. That's something we ought to do. And we'll talk about this off the air. But it wouldn't be a bad idea, Dustin, for us to make a chart and keep pushing that chart along like the United Way does. Let's go. Let's blow the top of the thermometer off.
Oh yeah, because like I said, last year was around $280,000, and that was a huge year. Like I said, and that's why they've opened up online, because there are people who have family members that would either be there for the state fair or not, that they can still get donations. Because last year was the first year they tried doing donations online, and it did help. But they're hoping this year. I mean, they're going to rely on that this year.
Yeah, it's COVID has changed a lot of things.
Ain't that the truth?
Well, Dustin, what have you got going the rest of this lovely week?
Well, I got to sit down with Senator Ernst tomorrow. We're going to talk about some of the things that are going on with that Senate bill going through, to hopefully get some more help to people that need it out there. And her and I are also going to talk about ethanol and E15, because she kind of threw the gauntlet down to Administrator Wheeler last fall to take care of a few things, and he still hasn't done anything on them. And so she in fact held up the appointment of one of his undersecretary or his assistant administrator, because he hasn't done what he said he was going to do, and therefore we were going to talk about that, and let's see other things I got going on. We're going to talk about some of the policies that are changing for actual food producers and the things that they're needing to look at, and yeah, a lot of just odds and ends stuff coming up here the next couple of days for me.
Well, that's it is just hard with the way everything goes anymore. I mean, everything's virtual.
Oh yeah.
Although,
just for example, today Senator Ernst and I were supposed to contact virtually, because it's the only way I can do it. I've got my temporary studio now going into month 6 here in my basement, and it's not I don't have my whole phone board in here to do all that stuff, and so I'm doing Google Voice calls. And thanks to Google's technology this afternoon, I didn't hear my Google Voice ring, but I got an alert that she left me a voice message when she called me early. So needless to say, now we got to try to do it tomorrow.
Although I did hear a good one yesterday, sitting in a farmer's office, and somebody had asked him, well, aren't you worried about being around people? He said, I'm a farmer. He said, what's the closest employee you see anywhere around this farm? He said, the closest we get is a half mile apart from each other. And even then, we don't like each other enough to talk to each other.
Right. I'll have to say one good thing about it. I've only been in personal contact with Anna twice in 6 months.
How is Anna doing, by the way?
Oh, she's doing good. She's devolving into a crazy cat lady during all this. She adopted another cat. I don't know if I told you that or not. She's now got 2 cats in her 1-bedroom apartment, driving her nuts. But no, she's doing good. I think she's wants to go back to the office, but she's also a germaphobe, so she doesn't want to go back to the office. And we're actually moved out of our office right now, because even though we had this everything, we got shut down the day before St. Patrick's Day, where we had our landlords told us get out. We still finally got the go ahead on a project that's been over a year or so in the making, and they're completely gutting the building we were in. So we had to come back during COVID and pack up our offices, what we didn't take with us. And now we're in a temporary office outside downtown Des Moines. And the thing is, we got everything set up like we're going to go to work tomorrow, but we aren't going back to work yet. And so, yeah, so Dustin had to pack up all them bobbleheads and get them all put back. And now they're all unpacked, and now I can't go in my office. And now that took me an hour and a half to pack all them bobbleheads up.
Are you serious?
And that's not, I mean, that's only 27 bobbleheads. By the time you get them in their box and crate them back up, and
that's what I was fixing to say. It's not like you're just chunking them in a
no,
box.
take them out of their case, put them back in the styrofoam, put them back in the box. Yeah. So yeah, that took some doing, but
how is the train room doing?
It's doing good, actually. I got a little bit of work done, thankfully, because of COVID. But now in the summer, I still haven't been doing as much as I used to. But I finally got it so it runs all the way around. I finally got a whole loop of train going. But now really? I got a few more tinkering things to do, and I've already ripped up track in 2 places because I want to change how it looks. Because not bad, it's a couple sections because it's not the way I want it. So I can do a loop on one track, but I can't do it on the other main line. So, and then my yard to the brewery is ripped up right now. So.
Well,
I built a nice engine. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you got to be able to have the brewery running.
I know. Oh, it's running, but they're just having to rely on trucks to get it out right now. But no, I built myself an engine repair shed to put on my yard, and I realized that the building didn't fit in the schematic that I have, so I had to readjust the track to make it fit. Oh well.
Dustin Railroad. Let me tell you something funny. You're going to get a kick out of it. Okay. The man that runs all the trains at Stone Mountain Park, and he was one of the last engineers of one of the last steam engines left running.
Wow.
Down here, is a good friend of mine. Well, I got him started on farm life a while back. He has now turned his yard into a huge garden. He built a chicken coop that he's been building the chicken coop for 32 days straight. It's 2 stories and air conditioned.
A chicken coop. The chicken coop Hilton or what?
Yeah, it is the coop to Hilton. He went out and bought him an old farmall and rebuilt it, got bored and rebuilt it, and broke down last week, 2 weeks ago, and went and bought a new tractor. So he's been on his new tractor. He has now cleared like 2 acres at his house. He's steady going. So he's retired, and we'll just let him go.
2-story chicken coop.
Oh, yeah. I'll send you pictures of it.
I don't think I'd want to be on the bottom story, if you know what I mean. That's like kind a 2-story outhouse, ain't it?
Yes. Well, what do you think, Dustin? What have you seen out of does the corn actually look pretty good there?
So far. I mean, it's all depending on how much damage we got and a little bit of a wind we got earlier in the month, if it did much damage to the pollination. But for right now, it's starting to look pretty decent. Now, again, there are places that needed rain, and so they're a little bit behind, like Council Bluffs towards Sioux City, the west central part of the state. They're needing some. There are some places that could use just another shot or so to finish it off and get us to the finish line. But all in all, at least the plants are healthy. We haven't seen a lot of damage. I mean, not even a month ago, I was up in Minnesota, and last 2 years, my family's farms haven't been looking the greatest. I mean, not terrible, but they haven't looked the greatest. This year was some of the best corn I'd seen in south central and southwestern Minnesota in a couple years. And I was up there on a Friday. Everything looked good. I went back on Sunday, and it was all flat thanks to a storm that came through on Saturday. There was quite a bit of green snap, and that's not what you want to see. I mean, we all know it ain't in the bin until it's in the bin. And a lot of it has recovered, but there was quite a bit of green snap, more than you'd like to see at any point in time. But, and of course, obviously too late to do anything about it.
What are beans looking like? Have you seen?
I was surprised there was flowering already before the 4th of July in some of the fields I went into. And I mean, where things are looking good, the beans are looking healthy, their flowers are setting pods decent. How much is that's going to fill? Let's wait to be seen. I mean, we still got a little ways to go before we really get some good evidence of that. but it was flowering already in some fields that I went into before the 4th of July. And I was surprised. I mean, we're talking end of June and flowers on the beans and up by Boone, Iowa. That's just, that was just ridiculous. I've never seen it that early in my life.
Wow, that's crazy. Did you see the note from Nicole?
Which one now? I gotta look. I gotta flip over. What are you gonna talk about? Something? You better talk about something.
The Iowa Interstate Program.
Oh, that's what she's talking about. Thank you. The Iowa Interstate. Okay, so that program, thank you for reminding me. I saw it, but yeah, that's something that we did. And USDA was okay in these programs already with everything going on with COVID. I mean, if anything, and Iowa Ag Secretary Mike Nag and I have talked about this throughout all this whole thing. If any silver lining, at least for us in Iowa, I don't know how it's been for you guys in your states there, we have seen the resurgence of the local meat locker.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And the meat cutters in the grocery stores. I mean, how many of them were fading? Unfortunately, my local meat locker in Minnesota went and couldn't find anybody to purchase it 2 years ago and sold out. But the resurgence, I mean, you're talking meat lockers that are booked well into next year now.
Yeah.
Of course, there's some nervous deer hunters out there, let me tell you right now. But the thing is, we've got this interstate program now where we've got several of the lockers in the state that are now licensed to be able to ship the products that they're making for sale, ship them out of the state and get them into other states, which means it's a good way for them to get rid of supply, move supply faster, get it to people who maybe don't have access to it wherever they're at, or if they're, we saw a lot of empty store shelves, and I don't know if we're going to see it again or not, but it's that fact that we've got to move that supply. I know here in Iowa, largest hog producing state in the country, we're backlogged. I mean, it's going to be a while before things are caught up. And like they said, even if we get caught up to a semblance of normalcy, at best we'll be at 90% of what we were. And so and we're talking, we've got hogs. I talked to the Iowa Pork this last week. We got hogs that were scheduled to be slaughtered in end of May and June that have been on feeding programs so they don't gain, and they're still waiting to be slaughtered. We still got hogs coming up behind them that are still waiting too. So that backlog is not easing. So these meat lockers, obviously we have gotten so many farmers, and I know my family, my uncles and cousins are in the same boat. I mean, people, you saw it on Facebook, I'm sure too, in your neck of the woods, where farmers were trying to just sell it for the processing or, get something for it just so those hogs weren't going to waste with the euthanizing. I mean, you see Nicole just made a point to us back on the backside here, the 4-H'ers who didn't have a market either. I mean, we've had some counties that are doing something, but not a lot. And so it's just been a glut here. And even some of the local places that are butchering their own, they said even during the height of COVID that they couldn't keep up with the supply fast enough. A couple of them that do raise their own, free range, open air hogs that they raise, but they also have grass fed cattle only. Some of these smaller companies that people are going to the farmers markets, which we're not having, and all that produce that's not getting bought and everything else. They're backlogged. The one I had talked to was backlogged 6 weeks, and that was in May. And I'm sure it's even more so beyond that. They can't even get their cattle and hogs ready fast enough to keep up with the demand. It's just the butchers are working hard, and they're trying to, some of them are butchering for people and then letting them cut the meat up themselves. People have learned how to butcher. I've talked to people that have been helping farmers butcher hogs, and as payment they're getting half of it or something, and they've learned more than they've cared to in the past probably couple of weeks. But if anything, now they know for sure what food they're putting on their plate, because they took it off with their own bare hands. But yeah, it's just been one of those things. And Nicole brought up a point to us, just skin it, chop it, gut it, and have it, and keep it chilled for a day or so, and then out the door it goes to someone else to cut up, because they just can't keep up with the demand. And I'm starting to wonder if they're going to start to see that resurgence, of our meat lockers going to come back. I mean, for one thing, you're getting local meat from your local farmers. Where it's coming from. You got a better idea of where it's coming from, and the consumers are wanting that. I mean, for better or worse, that's what they're seeming to want. And if that's where they feel they can get a good market for that, and just at least see the resurgence of the meat cutters, local meat cutters again, that would be a great boon to I'm sure a lot of towns.
Man, how great would that be for a liner for a local locker? Just skin it, chop the head, gut half, chill for one day, and out the door.
Next. It's
But
just
I talked
dang.
to I was talking to one here just south of us in Bowden, Georgia, and they were, I want to say they were 10 months out right now.
Yeah. And that's actually short. I mean, to be honest, that's short. I was talking with Secretary Nag, and he's talked to a few of his that he knew they were already booked into 2022.
Seriously?
Yeah. We're talking way out. So, I mean, it's, they're not butchering 4 people. I know, see, Nicole, I know some of them are. Some of them are for ours are not 4 people, but no, you can pay them to have them do it and get them out. Nicole, I've a couple of them up here are doing that. You're paying them to butcher it, but you're processing it. They're just doing the dirty work for you.
Wow.
Well, opportunity in every challenge here. So,
like I said, if you can find a silver lining, that might be it right there.
Yeah.
Well, now, Brent, what have you got coming up on your schedule the next week or so?
Oh, the next week, you're kind of looking at it right here. Just more in my basement here, kind of like Dustin here for the last 4 or 5 months here, just kind of hanging out. Working on the next episode. We're doing some more Corn Warrior stuff next week. I saw in the comments a little bit earlier Eric Reed on here. I think he's going to be one of the next up here. So maybe next week we'll catch up with him and trying to feel out what's going on here, to kind of get a sense of how things are going to shake out as we replace a lot of these farm shows that are going by the wayside. I know I've been having a lot of conversations offline about getting with a lot of the manufacturers and dealers across the country that are still trying to get the word out about stuff they've got going on, but aren't going to have a show for people to come and kick the tires and get free yardsticks and elephant ears and all that stuff. So, I mean, we're going to be trying to, and that's going to be one of the interesting things that we're going to be really chronicling over the next few weeks is a lot of that stuff is experience. Because, I mean, let's face it. Yeah, I mean, you can go to your dealer if you want to look at tractors or combines or sprayers or balers or planters or what have you. But what people are going to miss out on this year is just the flat out experience. It's such a big deal. And that's going to be something that's going to be really hard to recreate virtually. I mean, you'll be able to do some of the field days and the crop tours and stuff like that, but it's going to be different. But we're trying to really figure out how we can do some of that stuff justice and tell some of the behind the scenes stories. So we're going to be working a lot on that. Been working on print content this week. Behind the American Farm Bureau Federation's push to help dairy farmers with the federal milk marketing program and some of the changes that they want to see made to that. So been digging into that a lot this week, and we'll probably be bringing some of that to the podcast and the radio show here over the next couple weeks. And like everybody else, it's really kind of week to week right now, kind of leading up to harvest time. Last year I was in 18 different states with the show, and so much of that was predicated on going to farm shows and going to conferences and conventions. And without that stuff, I mean, we're really just kind of taking it week to week as the situation changes, because we don't really have a schedule anymore. You sit down and I don't know how you guys are, but I know you kind of put together a loose in pencil editorial calendar to kind of figure out some of the stuff you want to do that kind of tracks along with the typical dates on spring planting, fall harvest, some of the stuff in between. But outside of those things, man, everything else is up in the air right now. So we're just taking it one week at a time here, and you got to be a little more reactive than proactive, but. We're getting by. We're getting by. The one good thing, and I'm sure you guys have seen this too, Dustin, is that And I remember somebody making this point on one of our NAFB calls, or probably back around April or May, that a lot of people's careers are going to be made and cemented during this time. Because this is the time when you got a captive audience and people are looking to us to be able to kind of tell those stories and keep them informed on some of this stuff. And
right,
I don't know how you guys are doing, but we've seen listenership and viewership on these live streams just really pick up over the last few months. And now's the time we're working hard to build that audience that's going to stick with us, past all of this. So that's where the big focus has been, just trying to do things to build audience and keep them engaged, whether it be on the radio or be it virtually. So
that's what we're doing too. We're starting to see that uptick, but we're also looking at the fact that we decided, and that's the thing that radio is having to do, is start to incorporate more video. And so we finally invested in the equipment to do better videos than what we had been doing, and trying to do that again and bring that up to date. But again, it's how much you can get out and how much you can do it, but still remembering that the radio side for us is our bread and butter. That's where we're paying the bills right now. And so, but the thing is, we're seeing that content, especially on the videos, because of the fact that not many people can get out. Like you said, you can't just go to the farm show and talk to other people. So, and radio is great. Still does great numbers for ag radio, but getting that video gives them that little bit extra feeling of connection, at least with the people they're talking with or hearing from.
Hilarious you say that, because all the probably the back half of 2019, I was pushing hard for some of that equipment ourselves, and we finally made the commitment to go ahead and buy in January, and got it just in time to go to Commodity Classic this year. Used it down at Commodity Classic, and now it's been parked ever since then, so we haven't had any place to go. So
and that's where we decided that it was at Commodity Classic that we had to do something. But we looked at a couple of the people that are there, some of my friends in broadcasting, like Susan Littlefield. She's always there with her camera, and Susan and I have been gone way back to our days when I was in Minnesota, and we were part of the same company. And she's been she's getting us on the right track. Her and former President Brian Winnikins both got into the cameras and showing us what they can do. And it's great. And that's the one thing that's nice through all this. And I don't know about for you, Brent, we had those calls with the NAFB, which were great to get us going. And I think hopefully maybe we should start pushing Tom to do those again. Yeah, at least the ones where we talk. But we even had a group of us that got together on Facebook Live, just 8 or 9 of us that were really good friends that are close knit in that group. And we would get together every Friday and have a virtual happy hour after the day was done, just to talk about and talk about what we did and just unwind with what we're doing personally and professionally. And you know what, that does so much, because like we talked before we got on here, Commodity Classic was the last big farm show we had, because everything hit the fan like right after we got back. In fact, I don't know about you, but I sure got nervous because right after we got back, as we found out San Antonio had been a hotbed of it, and that's where we were. And the way things are going right now, we could not be doing anything until Commodity Classic next year in San Antonio.
Yeah. Well, funny story about that. I actually got delayed for a day. I was supposed to come back the Friday of Commodity Classic, and I wound up getting held over and coming back Saturday. Then I found out the very first case of COVID was a guy who came through the airport 24 hours prior to me. So I probably would have been getting off the plane with him about the same time. And
that's when I left. That's when I left San Antonio, was Friday morning. Wow. I came down Wednesday noon and left Friday morning. I was there a total of 36 hours. And I was left for the whole week. And you remember how hot it was that Friday? I mean, for us northern boys, you're talking almost 80 degrees. It was so ungodly hot. The next morning I get up and it was already like 60 degrees. And I got to Detroit and landed. I didn't bring my coat. It was in my bag. And it was a blizzard when we landed in Detroit. And it was 8 degrees. And I'm like, what am I doing?
I think it was about 43 when we hopped off here in Louisville. And it was a rude awakening. But when we hopped off that plane, I surely wouldn't have put my next paycheck on the fact that we'd be sitting here on July 29th, not having been anywhere else since then. It's incredible. It's truly incredible.
I'm looking forward to getting back on the plane and at least getting together with some of you guys, and especially the fellow broadcasters around, because there's, as much as we do work, it's the camaraderie we have when these things end at the every day. They go to these different events and we get to hang out for these. Sometimes the companies treat us well afterwards, and that's always been a fun thing, and you look forward to that. I mean, the last time I got on the plane, I was on the phone with Brandon. That's how long ago it was, talking about Popeye's chicken in Atlanta airport. And I couldn't get any because my plane was late getting there.
Well, guys, it's been a good week. It's that time of the week where, first off, I've got to say, and you can come on. We need to bring Nicole up because we're going to discuss the Farm Life Cruise 2021. Why are you looking and not coming up? Are you playing hide and seek?
Do we need the Love Boat theme here?
No, I'm here. Don't worry.
Hi, Nicole.
Hey, Dustin.
Real quick, for many of y'all that don't realize what goes on, that particular person in that corner of that screen does more than you will ever know to keep everything running. If it weren't for Nicole, we would all be looking. Well, I'd still be sitting on the swing on the front porch. But go ahead, Nicole. The floor is yours to talk about our grand cruise.
You're just buttering me up so I don't change your passwords.
Well,
I just wanted to do a quick reminder that the farmlifecruise.com is up and running. You can go there for all of the information on our cruise in January. It'll be January 23rd, 5 days. We'll be leaving from Galveston, Texas, and going to Cozumel, Progreso, and Yucatan, Mexico, and then back to Galveston. So farmers don't get a lot of vacation time. We understand this. So we have scheduled this just so farmers can all get together and have a good time and not have to worry about things. And for those who wanted to, or there was questions about whether or not you can bring your kids. Yes, bring them. I'm bringing mine. There's a place that you can drop them off, so you don't even really have to vacation with them.
Kelly's bringing Matt.
I love my children, but I have 5 of them, and there is more of them than me.
Kelly's probably dropping Matt off somewhere, so she doesn't have vacation with him.
Gonna drop Matt off too.
There's plenty of bars to babysit the boys. Fun fact: we have 28 people officially signed up on the form. One of them is not Brandon. Brandon, you can sign up for our cruise. Are you coming?
Who's going to bring the Twinkies?
After I got done at the surgeon's office, do not let me forget to call Sheila and get the paperwork done.
Now, it's important to know that our discounted deposit is only until tomorrow. So the discounted deposit is non-refundable, but it can be transferred to another cruise. It's just there as a courtesy so that you don't have to come up with a lot of money right away. And all of the information is on that website, farmlifecruise.com. After tomorrow, we can't guarantee anything on a lower deposit, but the group rate deposit is 100% refundable. So if you have cows calving late or whatever you got going on, because we know a lot goes on farming, if you would have to cancel for any reason, it is 100% refundable. So the deposit, the shortened or the smaller deposit is not refundable, but can be transferred. You just pick another day, go on your own. That's fine. And if you can't go on the dates that we set, you can still call that number on the website. Talk to Sheila. She's amazing. She'll get you hooked up, even if you're not hanging out with us. It's still nice to treat yourself. And this is a networking opportunity. We are making some scheduled stops where we can do some farm things, but it's not required. We're not micromanaging your vacation.
Do we get to go to the tequila farm?
I'm hoping so. We're still getting details where we'll pull some fun things together, but no one's required to go. So you could literally not get off the boat. There's so much to do. You don't even need to go on any excursions. But
I'd be trolling.
Yeah. So if you need a larger room with 3 or 4 people in one room, you have to book like yesterday. It is really important because those rooms go out so fast, and there is no way for us to reserve any. Now, so if you wanted to bring, your 2 kids or whatever, you would, if you wait till the last minute to book, you may have to purchase 2-person rooms, and that's a lot more expensive. So just watch out.
Oh, mine go down there.
What, Brandon?
I said I'll put mine down the hall. That way I'm not near it.
But then you still got to pay for it,
Yeah.
I'll pay for it anyway, because if they pay for it, they still use my. I still end up paying for it.
It's getting deep now.
So that is my little spiel for today. We'll keep reminding you about it. So
don't let me forget to do it in the morning while I'm on my. I've got to go look at cotton in Alabama tomorrow. Okay. Do not let me forget to go do it, or to do it while I'm on the road looking. I've got to go to 2 hours away to look at cotton in the morning, so make sure I do that. Jesse Lopez with John Deere is on with us. Jesse, how you doing tonight? Well, we're getting to that end of the time, and it's the end of the show for us. And Dustin, it's absolutely a pleasure to have you back. Now, next Wednesday night, there's absolutely no guarantees to what will happen. I'm pretty sure I will not be on the air, but if I am, if I'm in Matt Griggs has got these American flag boxer shorts that were hanging on the truck antenna the other day. If I'm in American flag boxer shorts, just let it go.
Me and Kelly will probably be running next week, and we may bring Drug Brandon online. Some fun things going on that you might not want to miss for next week.
Very heavily sedated.
There we go. It's going to be better than them wisdom tooth extraction videos afterwards.
Oh, that was bad, wasn't it?
My wife lost me in a grocery store.
Well, on behalf of everybody, Nicole, Brent Adams with Fast Line Fast Track, Dustin Hoffman with Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and me with Farm Life. We would like to thank you all for being with us tonight, and thank our sponsors, Concept Agritech. We're glad you guys joined us tonight, and join us next Wednesday night. There's no guarantee who, what, where, how, or why, but somebody will be in these chairs. And
maybe
we'll all been drugged already.
Dustin, you have no idea. I came home after being on the road for 3 days in extreme pain. So yes, we're getting there. Anyway, you guys all have a great night, and I will talk to you guys later. Thank y'all.
Good night.
See ya.
Night, guys.